Daniel Jones has been benched by the New York Giants, which means there will be a new quarterback under center in week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. And on today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 Daniel Jones replacements for next year. But first, I want to hear from all of you in the comments section. Predict it for me. Who do you think will be under center in week 1 next year? Cast your votes down in the comments section. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. With the Giants benching Daniel Jones, I think we can come to the conclusion that his time as a Giant has come to a close. They are going to move on from him this offseason, and they will release him. And they will add $19.3 million to their available cap space, and they will have plenty of money to spend. If he stayed on the roster, it would be $41.6 million. And that's an expensive backup. That will not happen. They will cut him, and they will be in the market for a new starting quarterback. Luckily for the Giants and Joe Schoen, if he is still the general manager, which I expect, they are going to have a lot of money to spend in free agency. When you add on the cap relief that you get from moving on from Jones, you get up to nearly $65 million in pretty much projected cap space, which comes in at number 12 in the NFL. So if you want to go out and sign a veteran QB, maybe you want to pay a guy like Sam Darnold, you can do that. And you can still build around him and improve the rest of the roster. If you want to go to the draft route, you're going to have a pretty good pick. At this current moment, as we film this video on November 19th on a Tuesday, the Giants own the 4th pick in the NFL draft behind Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Cleveland. This will continue to change. This will continue to shuffle around, but I'm pretty dang confident the New York Giants are going to have a top 7 pick coming up in this spring's draft. You got a lot of cap space and a high draft pick. If you're trying to go out and add a franchise quarterback, those are two tools that you want to have. And Joe Schoen, he has both of those at his availability. And he has to get this right, because you already missed on paying Daniel Jones that contract. Whether you believe Mara forced him to do it or he did not, he was the one that signed off on it because he was the general manager. And this is your opportunity to add the guy, whether it's in free agency or the draft, or maybe both. It's not the greatest free agency QB class. It really never is. Here are the top 10 guys in no order, in my opinion. Sam Darnold, number 1. Are you going to pay Sam Darnold $25 million? I don't know. Then you got a guy like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Russell Wilson, Drew Lock, and Marcus Mariota. Look, if I could choose any of these guys to be the quarterback for the Giants next year, it would be Russell Wilson. But I don't think the Steelers are going to let him go. I think they will choose between Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, and I think Wilson will be the one that's going to sign a multi-year contract to remain as the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into next offseason. But if for some reason Wilson becomes available, the Giants should do whatever it takes to sign him as their quarterback. He could be the bridge guy. He could even play for a couple more years. And you don't have to rush into drafting a quarterback or playing that rookie quarterback that you select. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's back with Pittsburgh. So my number 1 free agent target at the quarterback position is his teammate, Justin Fields. I think of all the guys that are available, he has the highest ceiling, and he's probably not going to cost you all that much money in free agency. I think you could sign Fields to maybe a 1-year deal worth about $8 to $9 to maybe $10 million. And look, this is a guy that was a first-round pick, selected inside the top 15, and he's got a lot of talent. There's no doubt about it. Was it a perfect marriage in Chicago with Justin Fields? Not a chance. But he showed some signs that he has the ability to be a game changer with Chicago. And I actually liked what I saw on the field when he played for Pittsburgh this year, leading them to a 4-2 record. And I would do some nasty things to be 4-2 6 weeks into the NFL season. You look at what he did in those 6 starts. So we'll go game by game. Week 1, you beat Atlanta 18-10. He goes 17 of 23 for 156 yards, and he completes 74% of his passes. Nothing awesome. Nothing great, but it did just enough to win you the football game. The next week, go out and beat Denver 13-6. Complete 65% of your passes for 117 yards for a touchdown, no picks. Took care of the ball through 2 weeks. You start 2-0. Then you got to score 20 points to beat the Chargers. You complete 78% of your passes on 32 completions, and you have 245 yards on 25 attempts, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Then you lose to Indy, 27-24. You complete 64% of your passes, but you have a passing touchdown, including 64% of your passes on 22 attempts. He looked really good in that game tape. Against Dallas, you lose 20-17. Complete just 55% of your passes, 131 yards, but you did throw 2 touchdowns. And the last start against the Raiders, you didn't throw a touchdown. You only completed 58% of your passes, less than 150 yards, but you had an offense that put up 32 points and you won the game by 20 points. 4-2 is 4-2. Was it beautiful? No. Was the move that they made to Russell Wilson probably the right move? Absolutely. But that shows me if you play good defense and you implement an offensive strategy that is conducive to his skill set, he can win games. He can make big-time throws. He had 6 of them. Had a big-time throw percentage at 3.5. Not extremely high, but he's got that ability. Just a turnover-worthy play percentage of 2.8. It's a good number. Adjusted completion percentage of 78.8. I'll take that every day of the week. And he throws the ball on average 7.7 yards down the field. He can create explosive plays. He could take the top off the defense. He just needs to do it more consistently and overall become more of a consistent passer. I thought he did that this year, completing almost 80% of his passes in the adjusted completion percentage department, which essentially factors in drops and other things of that sort. But the thing that separates him, like if he couldn't run, if he couldn't make moves outside the pocket, if he couldn't change games with his legs, I would have no interest. But it's what he does with his legs that makes him so attractive to me. This year, ran for 248 yards in 6 games. Didn't run as much as he usually does, but he's a guy that can get loose out of the pocket. 127 yards after contact, 10 missed tackles forced this year, 7 runs of 10-plus yards. He has a run of 15-plus yards, 110 yards on scrambles, and 138 yards on design QB runs. So you can build an offense around him and his legs, and inside the red zone, he's one of the most dangerous weapons. Had 5 touchdowns on the ground this year. What he did in his second year in the NFL with Chicago as a 15-game starter, 1,143 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. Look, at this point, Justin Fields knows he's probably a career backup, but if you give him a year to be a starter and you tell him, look, we need you to run the ball. We need you to use that. That's your best asset. And you pair him with Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors, you got 3 guys that are explosive playmakers. And I want to see him lean back into being a running quarterback. But I also think he could do just enough to win you games inside the pocket. Look, this isn't a Justin Fields is our franchise quarterback. This isn't Justin Fields is going to be our guy for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Maybe he plays well enough and he does. Fields can be your bridge quarterback, or he could be the guy in 2025 you take a flyer on that you could build around and I think implement a winning style of play. And then maybe he improves and he doesn't become that, does or does not become that guy. Either way, I like him the most as a 1-year option to either be the full-time starter or start the first 4, 5, 6 weeks and then hand it off to a rookie quarterback. But remember, free agency becomes before the draft. Locke's a free agent. Jones has been blasted to the sun. You're only going to have Tommy DeVito on the roster. You're going to have to sign a quarterback or trade for one before the draft. And if you trade for one, my number 1 trade target is Matthew Stafford. And look, I know that this is a rumor that some people don't believe in, and some people think that they created this rumor. They didn't. They didn't. Jeremy Fowler was talking about this back in July of the summer, that Matthew Stafford could be traded, and we'll break down those quotes. But it's not the craziest idea in the world. The Rams and Stafford have actually been working to this point where there could be a separation in their marriage. That's what Fowler said back, and I think it was August actually. Quote, the Los Angeles Rams have looked at Stafford's future as a year-to-year proposition. His rework contract last offseason reflects that, pushing his 2024 pay into the $40 million range, but lessening his guarantees in 2025, essentially allowing both sides to decide whether they want to remain married at that point. This is a situation to watch closely, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN says, because neither player nor team seems to know how or when it will end. Stafford is 36 and has dealt with injuries recently. Does he want to play after this season? A lot goes into this, but this isn't an unreal idea. This isn't the most big brain thing there is. Let's say the Rams continue to struggle this year and they're not able to make the playoffs. And Sean McVay has to look in the mirror and says, if I'm going to be the head coach of this team going forward, I need to build for the future. And maybe building around a 36-year-old Matthew Stafford isn't the best plan of action for them. Look, Stafford can still spin it. Maybe Stafford doesn't want to come play for the Giants. That's a different conversation. And I understand that if he doesn't want to. But the guy can still spin it. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And in my opinion, he's still a top quarterback in the NFC. This is a guy that just puts you in winning positions. He makes plays. He raises the ceiling of your offense and your team. He's someone that can still get it done at a high level. Is he what he was in 2021? Probably not. I mean, I love to see an offense of Matthew Stafford, Andrew Thomas, Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors, and maybe another playmaker or two that you add in the NFL draft or free agency. 2 3-year option with Stafford. Joe Shane thinks this team's close. You add Stafford to it. Maybe they can compete in the NFC East. Would you trade a second-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft for Matt Stafford? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Type T for trade, type P for pass. I want to hear from you down below. This next free agent target I put on here is Marcus Mariota. And I know some people are going to be like, really? Marcus Mariota is the guy you're putting on here? This is the best you could do? The only way I would sign Marcus Mariota is, remember, free agency is before the draft. If the Giants have the number 1 or number 2 pick, and they know for a fact that you are getting Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, and then he's your veteran, and he's the guy that helps you learn in the offense. He's a former top 10 pick. He can help you develop. This is the bridge if you draft a quarterback. Look, if you're picking 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, and you don't know for sure you're getting a quarterback, maybe you go more towards Justin Fields. But if you know you're picking ahead of the top of the draft and you're going to get Sanders or you're going to get Ward, Marcus Mariota is someone that I would love to have as that veteran backup that can help a young quarterback. And I went back and I watched the game tape of what Mariota did against Carolina when he had to be thrusted into the game in Week 7. I know, Carolina, but the Giants can only score 17 points versus them, so I don't want to hear that. He looked good. And in a spot where he had to go in due to injury, he played well. 18 to 23, completed 78% of his passes, 205 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 11 carries for 34 yards. Maybe he has to start the first 3 games of the season. I'm fine with that if you got a young buck and a strong young prospect like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders coming up behind him to play quarterback. So that's what I would do. If I know I have the 1st or 2nd pick and I know I'm getting a quarterback, Mariota is at the top of my list to be a bridge quarterback. Coming up next, the NFL draft. We're going to talk about those prospects and who could be on the Giants next year. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, DraftKings. Use that promo code NICSCHAT, bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday playing for the right to advance in the single elimination in-season tourney, culminating in the NBA Cup Championship in Vegas. First time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NICSCHAT. That's code NICSCHAT for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/BBALL.
Shout out to DraftKings, our proud sportsbook partner. Smitty's slate for Week 12. Guys, you might hate me for it, but I got Bucks -5.
No belief in Cutlets.
No belief in Cutlets, not in Week 1. Maybe that's the right time to be betting on Cutlets, but I think Baker and company will take care of them. Patriots +7 at Miami. I think Drake May has been coming along very nicely in that New England Patriots offense, and Miami, they kind of stink. So give me +7 in a divisional matchup. And the Chiefs, I mean, this feels like a get-right spot. Just blow the doors off the Carolina Panthers. Give me -10.5 here. -110 odds on all these. Lines and odds subject to change on DraftKings. Bet $5, get 200 in bonus bets using our code NICSCHAT.
No belief in the Carolina Panthers, man. They looked good in Germany against some football team I saw.
Yeah, that football team's going to be getting a new quarterback next year.
Could it potentially be our boy Cam Ward? Maybe it is. Look, There's only 2 quarterbacks I would select in the first round this year. It's Cam Ward, as you know, QB1. Shout out Cam Marino. You know where you heard it first. And Shedeur Sanders. Those are the only 2 guys. The only 2 guys I would look at in the first round of the NFL draft. If you're not on the clock, when either of these dogs are on the board, you pick the best player available. Maybe that's Travis Hunter. Maybe that's Will Johnson. Maybe that is someone else. The only ones, those 2. You cannot afford to reach. Because the last time the Giants reached on a quarterback in the first round, fast forward 6 years later, and this is what we're doing. Talking about quarterbacks. You cannot afford to miss, and you cannot afford to reach. Look, I really do think that you are splitting hairs this point between Ward and Sanders. I just lean more towards Ward. The completion percentage, it favors Sanders. The passing yards, it favors Ward. Touchdown to interceptions, 32 tutties for Ward, 6 interceptions compared to 27 tutties and 7 interceptions for Sanders. The big-time throw percentage, the arrow points towards Ward, whereas the turnover-worthy play percentage points towards Sanders. I think Ward has a bigger arm. I think Ward makes more big-time plays, and I think Ward is someone that has more green checks in the intangible department than Shedeur Sanders. What does Sanders do better? I think he's got better accuracy. I think that he does a little bit better with pressure in his face, and I think he takes care of the ball a little bit more. He's a little bit more safer. But I also love the dog that Cam Ward has. I think he's a true leader. I think he's someone that people gravitate towards. Not saying Sanders don't. Clearly, I think they do as well. But I think Ward is someone that can come in as a rookie and command a locker room, and he's someone that I would rather have as the face, the heartbeat, and the blood of my organization in the NFL. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders had a podcast this past summer, and there was a clip that emerged recently, and I posted on my Twitter. Check it out, at @MarshallGreen_. Shedeur Sanders asked, who's going to get the biggest second contract in the NFL? And Cam Ward said, I'd actually take a pay cut on my second contract if my team is winning to help my team win. And he talked about Patrick Mahomes being a guy that took a pay cut and it's working out. He talked about Trevor Lawrence not taking a pay cut and it's not working out. He talked about how Tom Brady took a pay cut for so long and it worked out. I love what's in between the ears of this kid. He said he's going to get his no matter what. And look, you can take a pay cut. We'll give you 10 years for a lot of money, just like they did with Cam Ward if you earn that second contract. But I like the idea and I love the processing that he knows there's more to this sport than just money. Not saying Sanders believes that. I'm just saying I think Cam Ward is a little bit more motivated by dubs instead of money balls. Overall, 5 things I look at a quarterback: arm talent, decision-making, accuracy, playmaking, and leadership. Those are the 5 things that I think are most important when evaluating a quarterback. Cam Ward, I think, has more arm talent. I think Shedeur Sanders is a little bit better in decision-making. I think the accuracy goes to Sanders. I think when it comes to a pure passer, when it comes to putting the ball on the money, having the most touch, being able to layer the football, I think Sanders does that a little bit better. But playmaking is a major arrow into Cam Ward. That's why I think the decision-making is to Sanders a little bit more, because Ward, his playmaking sometimes gets him in trouble. Got a little Brett Favre in him a little bit sometimes, so I think he'll be able to iron that out in the NFL. And I like a quarterback that takes chances, because we just saw the most boring quarterback run this organization for 6 years. So maybe I just want the complete opposite of that. But leadership, it's Cam Ward. What he's done for Miami, completely turned them around, looking to win their conference and get to the college football playoff this year. I just like what's inside of him a little bit more. He's a dog. Sanders is a dog too. I don't want to uplift one to put one down. Both are good pop prospects, and I would be thrilled if either are the selection for the New York Giants. Who would you make, though, as the selection of the next Giants quarterback? Sanders or Cam Ward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And if I had to predict, I asked you guys to predict at the top of the show, who is going to take the first snap for the Giants under center next year? I think they're going to go out and sign a quarterback, and they're going to want a guy that's going to have to be able to start or can't start if they need to. I think they're going to go out and sign Justin Fields, and I think they're going to draft Cam Ward. I think Sanders will be the first QB off the board, and I think Cam Ward will fall into the lap of the New York Giants. Speaking of the last couple of drafts, the team that selected the second quarterback has had a little bit more luck. Ask the Texans and ask the Commanders. Make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. A lot can change, and we're going to continue to break it down on here as well as my social media. So hit me up, and let's go Big Blue.